Okay, so today is just to put the dates on here. Today is February 20th. And this is a very challenging day. Um, we'll talk Torah portion and we'll talk about what Jason just segued in for us over here. But just have to. I feel like I have to at least acknowledge it. I've not obviously. I don't think any of us have fully processed the challenge of the day, and I think more information is coming out as we probably sit here. So today we had four hostages. It seems that were returned. All were returned not alive, and it seems as now. This is part of my concern with the reports. Is so in regards to the two kids that have been confirmed, identified, but it seems like the mom that they sent back perhaps is not the mom. At least some of the reports that I'm seeing. So I don't know what people use as their sources. And it really is. It's been a day where Larry and I met earlier today, but we didn't talk about it much, and I wasn't prepared to talk about it much. And I just put a message into some friends of mine, like, has anybody heard? I'm like waiting for a statement, a statement or an email or something from like my rabbis or like the rabbis that I'm close with, or the organizations that I usually turn to for guidance and thoughts and challenging thoughts about situations like this, and I haven't seen it yet. Now that could be for all kinds of things. It could be they're waiting for confirmation about what the actual situation is. That could be part of it. Along with there could be a processing, right? People, I feel this, especially this one. As I was talking to a friend of mine, I said, should it really matter? Maybe Larry may have said this also. Should it really matter that it's, a mom and two little boys and a great grandfather versus anyone else that was taken? It really, it really shouldn't matter. They all should matter the same. But there's just something that hits you in a different fashion. It's something like this, and it's just an aspect of barbarians and how could such perhaps it has how could such things happen? How could such things take place? Obviously, we always ask ourselves, what is the message, right? What is Hashem asking of us, or telling us, or sharing with us? Um, and that's something that we definitely need to be thinking about, and we can certainly wait, to hear. I've seen a few statements come out. I've seen some media people talk, and people perhaps they're influencers in a certain sense. I've seen some of that, but I'm still kind of processing it. So I don't want, but I wanted to at least acknowledge it and mention it as before we learn a little bit over here.
I have something
Obviously,
to add to yeah, I have
this
something
was
to
the
add to that.
yeah, please.
I saw some of those reports, and I mean, if that's true, if that's not the mom, then let's not forget that that's still a person, right?
Right.
It's terrible if they mixed bodies up, if they figure if they thought they had somebody they didn't, and whatnot, but like that is still somebody's daughter, sister, mother,
Yeah. Yeah.
whoever, that um, is deceased and was sent to Israel. And I mean that it could be a Palestinian, and they were just trying to pass it off as
Right.
as this the mother of the Bibas children,
Right. Right.
or it could be somebody else that we didn't even know was held hostage and could be an Israeli and was, I don't
Yeah.
know, somehow not reported, or
Right.
let's just
Exactly.
let's not
There's
forget this is still a person, even if it's not the person that was expected.
Exactly, exactly. So those are some of the pieces why I think, perhaps that's part of the reason why a message wasn't put out yet. We're trying to figure out who's who and what's what. We don't want that to happen where, like, you know, it's like, oh, it's her as opposed to her. Like, that it's heart wrenching, right? And it's not. So that could be part of the reason there is a certain amount of statements that are going to be made or not made. Um, the I didn't hear the speech. I'm trying to track it down. But something that one of our friends, Bill, who actually will be listening to this, Bill put out that it was mentioned that the chief rabbi of Israel, who did speak at a funeral earlier today, or whatever it is, yesterday in Israel. But he did speak out Psalm 83. So, and that's something I'm not going to read it together. I think it's something very moving to read, to look at it, to look at Psalm 83. You can look at some of the commentaries on it if you like, but I mean, I'll share it when I send out the recording. I'll share the full source with everybody. But it's something to at least, some processing, and we don't have to have a statement right away. We've been waiting 503 days, and to feel like, oh, we have to have a statement, right? That's not sometimes the silence or the inner voice, that itself is a huge statement. And I don't think we need statements for ourselves, we need statements for the world. So God should give us the strength, the clarity to understand. And if we can't understand, to at least make sure that we're walking, when we walk tomorrow, when we walk forward, right? It shouldn't be the same. There needs to be something different about our steps, about what we do, how we do, why we do. Perhaps, with these kinds of things, I always say it about the Holocaust. They died for being Jews. So we got to make sure that we're living to be Jews, in whatever way that is. We have to. I think that's for me, that's always one of the takeaways. And what Larry and I were talking about earlier today, and what Jason just mentioned, I wanted to jump in on that a little bit. So the Torah portion is. Anyone else have any other thoughts or questions on that? That was not fair to me. Sorry. Okay. If you think of something, feel free to share it at the end. So just Torah portion wise, so we have a Torah portion called Mishpatim. Mishpatim is laws, literally translated as laws. It goes through a lot of the judicial system, judicial laws that we go through, interpersonal types of things, damages. It starts off pretty much with the laws about servants or slaves, what those laws are, which of course is unique and makes sense, really. Like as we're going to the Jewish people are starting to learn the laws, right? We know nowadays, we certainly know from a psychology standpoint, psychology and psychiatry standpoint, and human nature standpoint. Unfortunately, those who were bullied, unfortunately, very often do bully. So it's very important. God is over here, perhaps a very practical sense. God is saying, you guys experienced a very tough slavery. You were treated in a horrible fashion. Let me show you, or let me tell you, let me warn you about what's the appropriate way to have a servant, a butler, a maidservant, or a slave. What's the appropriate way for that to happen? And of course, we know that Torah is here to guide us. Torah is here to guide us and what we're supposed to try to accomplish in life. And that's something that I think is, for me, when I think of this week's Torah portion, based off of, we went through the Ten Commandments last week. We got the Torah last week's Torah portion. And now we're, having these laws that Moshe is going to teach us. He's going to share with us. And these laws obviously are verses in the Torah, but when you read the verses in the Torah for this portion, you know very well that there's a lot going on here. And when you get into the nuance of the verses and the way it says it and what it says and what it doesn't say and the way that it says it, these are things that, the Talmud really spends a lot of time on. And to learn all the intricate aspects of the laws of Jewish law. It's not just, we say it's not, the question of, is it enough to be a good person, right? The answer is no. Or you have to say, we first have to define for ourselves what good means, right? So we're going to talk about laws, right? You're going to go ahead and say, oh, I'll be a good person. Well, how do you know what good means, right? In every generation, we're going to define what good means in a different fashion, right? We need, as Jews, as the world, right? We need to have a moral compass for ourselves. That's one that's not going to be dependent on our society or different levels of society necessarily. It's going to depend on on something that's beyond this world, that isn't susceptible or biased in the fashion that we are. The ego isn't there. So that's why we have the beauty of the Torah, of God's wisdom that he is sharing with us to go ahead and help us understand what it means to be a good person, what it means to be just. And that's what this Torah really spends time on, right? The Torah portion spends time on all those laws and all those intricacies. And I think it's what I think is really, is powerful is how when we talk about laws or talk about mitzvos, right? The opportunity, I think opportunity is the word to use, as opposed to, these are the laws you must do. Okay, we have to follow the laws, but why are they there? These are opportunities for us, right? These are help us to build our relationship with Hashem, help us to build a relationship with those around us, help us to build a relationship with ourselves, right? Those are the three main relationships we have in our lives. We have a relationship with Hashem, we have a relationship with others, and there's also a relationship with ourselves. So as we work on making ourselves, right, into the best version that we could possibly be, right, how do we do that? What's the right way to do that? How do I know? Where do I start, right? Am I going to look into the world around me? I mean, if I was born into this world right now, I'd be very confused, right? I'd say like, okay, let's watch some news, right? If you watch the news, that's certainly going to confuse me about who I wouldn't even know where to go. Turn on the sports station and you'll think that life is about one thing. You turn on the music station or entertainment or the movies, you watch a movie, you think it's real life. Oh, I'm supposed to behave that way. There's where do we turn? How do we know? We have the huge blessing of having a Torah to guide us, having Hashem to guide us, having our Judaism to guide us. And so much of that is about generation to generation, is about the oral tradition, about the oral law that's given over. And it's done specifically. I was just talking to somebody this week about this. We were reading a Mishnah together. This fellow studying, he's started his third part of the Mishnah together. He's done 2 parts and now he's working on another one. And we read something about the Megillah, right? About the laws of Megillah leading up to Purim. And it brought up some things that he had never heard about before about the holiday of Purim. And, he asked the question I've been waiting for. I mean, it could be asked it at some point earlier, but the question of why doesn't the Mishnah just say it? Right? Why does it have to write it a little bit of like a funny language, or maybe it's perhaps a little bit of a short language? Just say it for me, please. Just spell it out. Don't make me sit there and make some sort of inference, or it has a reference to that, or this connotes this or denotes that. Like, just tell me. And the answer is we need to have. The Torah is the Mishnah, the Gemara, the Torah, the verses of the Torah are forcing us into the position of having to rely or having to turn to the past generation, our elders, our sages, to create relationships, multi-generational relationships that will guide us through that will teach us how to do that, will help us understand it. That's what it's all about. That's what, we in Mount Sinai to today is whatever, some 80, 88, maybe 89 generations ultimately of overlap, right? It's 3,336 years ago or something like that, right? It's not that long. It's a long time, but not that long. It's really only 80 something people that would have gone from generation to generation if you do the calculations over here. So it wants us to have that. We mostly think of that on Seder night. But this week's Torah portion is the reminder of, no, it's not just about Seder night. Seder night has its lessons, has its purpose about the story of who we are, where we come from, right? But the Torah portion that we're reading this week is that reminder. Right away, we go from Mount Sinai of Yisro and that whole revelation experience. And now we're talking about Moshe teaching us the laws, right? Sitting down with us and delving into not just the verses of the Torah, but what lies behind and lies between the lines of the Torah. That room for interpretation, the room for the oral tradition, the room for discussion, and there's laws of interpretation that we need to learn, and all those intricacies, which are so awesome and so amazing. And I think Larry got a chance to experience this a little bit when we were in Israel together. Harry experienced this, and Jeffrey experienced this a little bit when he tried to give us a little taste of Talmud study, right? Of what that really looks like. And it's something that the Torah is telling us this is something that applies all the time. All the time. We can't just follow that feeling in our heart, that gut that we have, right? It needs to be guided. And what guides it is our involvement with our Judaism, our involvement with the Torah, with our rabbis, with our teachers, with the sages of the generation that have just an amazing clarity of, through their studying of Torah, through their relationship, that close relationship that they have with Hashem, that gives them a whole different lens. Their lens is so much clearer. And the lens they look through is the Hashem lens, is a godly lens that allows us to see things differently. So somebody asks you, Noach, why do you have to study, every day? You're doing this, Torah study, in the mornings I get this beautiful opportunity to study part of the morning from like 9 to 11:30 every day. I get a chance to sit down with colleagues, other rabbis in town, and we get to sit down and study in a deep fashion together. And, so they were like, okay, how does that work? What's going on? Like, don't you know it already? I was like, first of all, I don't know it already. There's a lot there, right? There's a lot there to uncover and to dig in and to keep on digging in. But it's also about making sure that I stay plugged in. Like we talked about last week with the trees, with the roots of the tree, how a tree has its roots in the ground, but us as humans, our roots are up in heaven. And the stronger they're plugged in, the stronger they're connected, right? That means that the blessing and what we're bringing into this world is what we're plugged into.
The stronger the fruits.
Right, the stronger the fruits, perhaps the further our branches can reach and can provide shade, and they can provide wood, and they can provide fruit, and they can provide comfort, right? All those, they can provide paper, all those kinds of things that have the ability to provide for the world, right? We want that. Where's that coming from? And that's really what this Torah portion of Mishpatim, of laws, is teaching us, is showing us that we got to be plugged in, and that we have the amazing opportunity to do mitzvos, right? And to study the laws, even if we're not necessarily doing all those laws. Not every law applies to every person in every way in every generation, right? But even if we're not obligated in that particular mitzvah at the time that we're living or that we're doing, or we're not necessarily doing that mitzvah, but being involved with it and studying it and learning it, right? Having that be what shapes the way we view and look at the world and connect and interact and interface with the world is so powerful. And it gives us the ability to know, the ability to know, right? When we're plugged in that way, we know that what we're doing is the best thing that we could be doing. It removes a lot of doubt from our lives because we know that we're involved with this, with spirituality, but the place that we're plugged into is one that brings about awesomeness and greatness and connection in so many ways, and in whatever society that we're in, whatever place we are in life. And it just gives our whole lives just so much more energy. And we know that we know that we're at least putting our best foot forward and putting in the best effort that we can. I think that's one of the major lessons of the Torah portion. And if you have the opportunity to read through some of the Torah portion, it's really interesting to see what's there, to see what laws it talks about, to see what seems to be, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Or like, well, that's really the law. Like, where does that come from? It's really interesting to see what's there and to understand it, and maybe not understand it, and to research a little bit more about it. So God willing, we should have that in our lives. We should make sure that we're bringing some of the mitzvos, some of the tradition, some of the oral law, all those aspects into our lives, and let that be our moral compass that guides us. Yeah.
Hey, share with the guys what you were telling me earlier today about the different layers of feeling. You know, you just said
Oh,
you said it beautifully, man. It just stayed with me. I can't say it as well as you, so I'd appreciate if you'd share the ideas and the thoughts.
sure.
But I just think it's so powerful. I think it's worth sharing.
All right, amazing. Thank you. I appreciate that, Larry. So we were talking earlier about our relationship with mitzvos, right? Sometimes there's mitzvos that we do. So there's different layers. The layers of it is sometimes we do something in regards to our Judaism because we don't want lightning bolts to come flying down from heaven and
Hmm.
hitting us, right? We don't want to deal with that. We don't want the punishment. We don't want a consequence, right? Perhaps the good example might be for some people might be like, why do I go to services on Yom Kippur? Because I know that if I don't, right, like something bad is going to happen, whether it's because my Zadie or my Bubby or my grandma or my grandpa, Saba, Safta, right? Like they're watching me, and if I don't go to services, man, they're going to be so upset. Now I don't know why that might be the only reason why someone's going, but that's a that could be a good reason too. So there's some parts of our mitzvah, some of our involvement with our Judaism, that relationship that we have comes from a place of we'll call it fear. Right? There's a certain aspect of fear over here. The next level that comes from that is where we say, no, it's not coming from fear, right? I worked on my relationship with Hashem, and I've got to, I really appreciate the things that Hashem has done for me and does for me on a regular basis, and Hashem does so much for me, and I'm going to do that. Take a step back. The other side of the coin of the fear is you do it for the reward, right? I'm not doing it because I'm scared. I'm doing it because I want the reward. I want good stuff. Whether it's good stuff in this world or good stuff in the next world, I want that reward, right? It's not about Hashem. It's much more about me, right? And then from that, as we do that those kinds of things, we can grow into the next level, which is to do things out of a place of love and appreciation for all the good stuff, all the amazing things all the blessing that God brings into our lives, all the great things that He gives to us. And then the next level after that, right? We can apply this to all relationships. The next level after that is where we have a certain awesomeness, a certain reverence and appreciation, not of what God does for us per se, but really for who God is, right? That's another level. We talk about, we can talk about our parents, perhaps that run different relationships that they can apply this to. But at a certain point in a relationship, you're not always doing it. Oh, I'm doing it because they did something for me, or I don't want them to get upset at me, so I'm going to do it, right? Or I only doing it so that they're happy with me, right? Or, they've done so much for me, so I'm going to do this for them, right? We get to a certain point in a relationship where we go beyond that. We're doing it because of the relationship that we have, because of the appreciation, not of what they do, but of who they are and what we're a part of. And I think this applies to all of our actions, all of our mitzvos, our relationship with our Judaism. We'll have things that we're feeling like, okay, I don't really want to do this. I don't know why I'm doing this, but I'm going to do it because I don't want to get in trouble, because I want the reward for it. I know this will, if I do this, it'll bring blessing into my life more than it's going to bring anything else. And we also go through ups and downs of that, right? One week I might be excited to come on to TNT, right? Because I walk away and I always walk away with something exciting, something new to think about, right? Or I want to see the guys, or whatever our reasons are for it, right? But there could be weeks where I'm really not feeling it because bless you, Harry, right? I'm really not feeling it, and don't worry, your sound's off. I'm really not right. I'm really not feeling it, but I'm gonna do it anyways, right? And I think this is something that applies. And so, it's something to keep in mind that there are these multi layers, right? Different aspects of relationship that we could have with ourselves, with our Judaism, with Hashem, with the Torah, with the people in our lives. And it's good to keep that in mind. Like, just because you're having a bad day, right? I think Larry ended off our conversation earlier today. Larry talked about the gym, right? Nobody walks away from the gym being upset that they went to the gym, even if it wasn't a good workout, right? And it didn't go exactly the way you wanted. You know that in place of that gym, what would have happened is you would have eaten the bag of chips on the way home, right?
Or the bagel.
Or the bagel with the beer on the couch watching the game, right? Right. So we know that when we engage, right, when we engage with our Judaism, we engage with the relationships that are important in our lives, right? When we're in it, when we're doing it, when we're involved with it, it really changes. It makes such a huge impact on our lives, and it's so special. And that's I don't think I said it as well, Larry, but that's something Larry and I were talking about the mitzvos, about the opportunities that we have, and then also the idea of making it ours, right? Make it yours, right? Pick a mitzvah that you're intrigued by, and learn more about it, study more about it, or there's a mitzvah you're already doing. There's something in the Jewish that say, or some aspect of your relationship with Hashem. You say the Shema, you say the Moda'ani, whatever. You say some blessings, right? But make them more. Not make them deeper, right? Or make them you. Make them you. I remember 11th grade. I think it was 11th grade. 11th grade is when I really did a deep dive into a lot of the things that I was already doing. I grew up that way. I grew up, in a religiously involved Jewish family. I was doing all the do. I was doing the do, right? But I needed to make it mine. So I didn't stop doing it I didn't stop doing it for a year. I didn't take the Amish approach of like, okay, I'm gonna take a year off now and experience everything in the world. No, I went ahead and I really was extremely emotionally, intellectually honest with myself and did a lot of research through the different mitzvahs that I already was doing. I made the mitzvah of tefillin, I made it more mine. The mitzvah of tzitzis, I made it mine. I tried to work on Shabbos, like understand more about the Shabbos to make it mine, not just like, oh, I've been doing that for the past, 15 years of my life, so I'm going to keep on doing that. I wanted to make it real. I wanted to make it my mitzvahs and my relationship, and that really is so fantastic. You hear an inspirational talk about a particular mitzvah or about a situation, right? Make sure to stop and to review it and to make it yours. Make it yours. And that's really, really powerful if we can, give ourselves that opportunity to do that and to bring that into our lives, God willing. Everyone should have an amazing Shabbos. And we should take the lessons of the Torah portion and we should bring it into our lives in a practical way. And let's be searching to see what kind of, just to make sure that we don't live tomorrow the same as we live today, right? Today is a challenging day. So let's make sure that at least decide when we wake up tomorrow morning, when we say the Moda'ani, or if we don't usually say the Moda'ani, to say the Moda'ani, right? To give thanks to God that we're alive. And I'm going to make sure to live life today, right? Because I've got it. I'm here. And Hashem said, I want you to be in this world, and I need you in this world today. And because of that, I'm going to make sure I'm going to do something special. I'm going to make an impact on the world in whatever way that we can. And sometimes that world is also ourselves and those people around us and the people that we interact with. So let's at least make sure that tomorrow morning, God willing, when we wake up, we say, okay, it's a new day and it's a new me, and I'm gonna try to make today extra special. I think that's what at least some of the simple walk away. And maybe we'll find some more. If anyone finds any, statements or anything like that, or emails or videos or thoughts or reflections that, feel free to share it with me. I'd love to see some of the different ideas that are out there, how to make sure that we live our lives and do our best to work on becoming the best version of ourselves.